back 2 weeks, and I'm tired. Hey, what's going on, everyone? Thank you for downloading the Retro Gamers. Larry here.
And Anthony here.
What's going on, buddy?
Nothing.
Same stuff, new day. No news is good news.
Oh, yes. I love the no news days. Unfortunately, they're few and far between.
Good. That means you're doing stuff.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is true.
Hopefully all good stuff.
Yeah, all good stuff. Life is good. I have a wonderful. Actually, it's not retro game related, but
That's
it is
okay.
video game related. But
We're allowed to talk about anything.
What?
I said we can sometimes go a little off topic to begin the show.
Yes, I know, because I have now officially gotten my very first writing credit in a video game.
Ding, 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 ding. All right, yes, and announce to the world what game that is.
Oh, that would be WWE 2K17
Sweet.
for Xbox One, PlayStation 4, Xbox 360.
And PS3, I think.
And PS3, I believe.
Yeah.
So, yes, I was on the writing staff for that game.
Awesome. And just real quick, was it fun doing the writing and stuff like that?
Oh, yeah, I had a great time. It obviously was an extension to, my previous job, because at one point I was on the writing staff at WWE for a period of time. So the wonderful people at 2K Sports reached out to me and offered me an opportunity to write for their new promo engine in 2K17, which is a new facet for the WWE franchise. And so I had a blast. I got to write tons of promo lines, and now I can go pick up the game and just choose my lines that I wrote, if I can remember them.
There you go. That's how. Well, congratulations, my friend. It's great to actually have your name. I saw it. I bought the game. I scrolled through the credits. Took about a song and a half to get to it, but
it's
saw
worth
your
the
name
wait.
come up.
People, it's worth the wait just to see my name, even though you probably don't know me.
And you're the first. And you're the first one on the list of that section too. So
I am. I got top billing.
Yeah,
how about that?
Wasn't even in alphabetical order. How about that?
Yes, well, I think it might have been in alphabetical order by first name. But we won't worry about that.
Some way, shape, or form, you're still on top.
That's all that matters.
Well, good. That's awesome.
That's good. You'll see me at Comic-Con and other conventions soon. So you get a paddle. What did you do? Oh, I wrote some copy for a video game.
That's right. I should send you a copy of the game and get it signed.
Mm-hmm. Act now before my hands fall off.
Or before your rate goes up.
Yeah, well, there's that too. I may start charging.
Awesome. Well, good stuff. So congratulations on that.
Thank you, sir. And how are things with you?
Good. Actually got back from Comic-Con. New York Comic-Con, that is. Yep. And I had an absolute blast. Just real quick, because there was a couple video game related stuff there. First of all, it renewed my love of going to Comic-Con. I'll get into that on More of the Same, my other podcast, plug. But what happened was some of the three cosplays in particular. I don't know if I sent you all the photos, but I put them on my social media.
You sent me 3 photos.
Okay, that was the 3 of them. Yeah, so it was a Majora's Mask Link, who really I wish I recorded, because he was really kind of in the motions and stuff. I'm moving. You can't see this. Only Rippo can. Only Anthony can. So, and what was the other one? Samus.
You saw Samus.
Yep.
And you saw the
Jason
kid.
Yes.
Jason
from Friday the 13th NES, which
that one. Yes.
Yes, which is pretty much all purple, including the mask for some reason.
Yeah, well, it was purple and blue. It was very strange.
Yeah, it was very odd. So
that's awesome. That's awesome though that you saw that.
Yeah, then there was a ton of other stuff which I'll get into at another time. But I saw a couple of retro bins. Nothing to report back on. Just some people selling some old games. I've seen more in the past, though, to be honest with you, as far as retro stuff. So beyond that, good time.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry I couldn't be there for it.
No, that's all right. Well, next time, maybe San Diego Comic-Con.
That's my goal. I've yet to go to one.
What? And, of course, if you want to see all my stuff, Larry Mormon here, More365. Check it out everywhere. Be that as it may, while waiting online, though, I had my DS with me, my 3DS, but I have some old school games on it from the Virtual Console. And some of them may not be as popular as some people may want to make them out to be. So I figure, like we were talking before, I guess you want to call them guilty pleasures. Kind of those games that you played that either were horrible or just like the topic of it you may not want to admit that you played.
Yeah, no, there are, there were obviously thousands and thousands of games out there, and not all of them are going to be good. But, for some people, those games were appealing in one way or another, for all the, for all the garbage that people throw at ET for destroying the, the video game industry. I mean, I remember as a kid playing that game nonstop. I had no idea what I was doing because I was like 6 years old. Honestly. I'm like, but I remember sitting there playing that game all the time. So it's just those kinds of games where, they may not be the best, but for some odd reason you were hooked on them, or they appealed to you in some way. Just
played them over and over and over again for no good reason whatsoever.
Exactly.
So,
which is pretty much your whole collection, from what I understand.
Look, at 89 NES games, I don't know how much for the other one, just 89 sticks in my head. And yes, not all of them are going to be gems. So, but I played all of them.
Yes, never beat them either.
Just a handful, that's all. I wasn't there to beat, I was there to have fun.
Spoken like a true person who can't beat games, yes.
Yeah, pretty much. But for me, like kind of the guilty pleasures, I mean, I one of the first ones that pops into my head, I don't know if you ever played Gilligan's Island for the NES.
I never played that.
You never? No. All right, good. It's a rough game to play. Basically, it almost plays like, I'm trying to think of another game. You ever play Platoon?
Yes.
Okay. Somehow it kind of plays the same as Platoon, as far as it's not really a side scroller. There's kind of a map system. You do move left to right, but sometimes you got to go up or down to move to like another part of, in this case, the island. Even on Platoon, kind of, sort of. And then it was 4 or 5 episodes, and you just had to go around the island, find different stuff. Of course, you never putting the boat together. It was you and the professor, and you run into snakes and whatnots. It was so bad. I just remember just playing it over and over and over again.
Well, 20 years later, they made a game just like that called Lost.
Yeah, pretty much. So, without anyone beating someone else over the head with a skipper hat. But I remember that one being, Gilligan's Island kind of being the first game. It's like, this is horrible, but I just kept playing it. I don't know why. Just had a kick out of it.
Well, I mean, there's no... I really can't make up an excuse for you for playing that. I mean, so...
well, let's wait for your list, so...
Well, I was just going to say, games based on TV shows back then were just kind of impossible. They really were. There was nothing like... I don't think there was anything really noteworthy on it, except like you had a few gems here and there, like a DuckTales,
Yes.
That was actually a really solid game. But for every DuckTales, you had probably like 10 games, like a Gilligan's Island and stuff like that. But I already, I mentioned E.T. as one of my guilty pleasures for Atari. Mm-hmm. But going back to the NES days, I remember, and again, I mean, you think about it, we're kids and everything like that, so movies have a big influence on you, and I know we've covered movie games before, but probably one of the worst games ever made, Back to the Future.
Ooh, I was just thinking of that one, yeah.
I played that game nonstop. I didn't care that it didn't make sense, that I'm running down a street where people are carrying glass and bees are chasing me, and there are girls with hula hoops all over the place and bowling balls, and none of it made sense.
Bowling balls.
Yeah, I mean, none of it made sense. None of it made sense. But that movie had such an impact on me. I did not care. I had to play that game, and I beat it many times. But I would always go back and play it, and for no reason whatsoever other than Back to the Future is probably one of my favorite movies of all time, so I loved playing that game. And consequently, I even played Back to the Future 2 and 3 on Sega Genesis.
Oh, in Genesis, okay.
I believe games. Sega Genesis, yeah. And it was, again, I mean, definitely not a good game, but just for the fact that it was based on the movies, I had to play them. So that's definitely one of the top of my list.
And they were better games on Genesis than they were, because Back to the Future 2 and 3, which was one game, on NES. That's another one that I played. I had the original Back to the Future, but 2 and 3, I played a lot, and it was just I didn't know what I was doing. It was almost a puzzle game. You had to find different parts in time and return it to the right times and do puzzles with them. I never got past part 2. I never played Back to the Future Part 3.
Wow!
But
I didn't even know they made that game.
They did. It was one cartridge, 2 and 3, but you had to play through 2 to get to 3. A horrible game, but again, just played over and over and over again.
Yeah. Well, and on the subject of traveling through time, I'll throw in another guilty pleasure, also movie related. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I played that game nonstop for no reason whatsoever because that game sucked. Even when I played it, it sucked, and I just couldn't stop going back to it because I just enjoyed that movie as a kid.
Yeah, I never. I think I may have played it once. I think I rented it once.
It's awful. It's
I do
awful.
remember. It's a rough one.
Yeah.
Some other I guess this is going to be, some people are going to like this game, some people aren't. I really didn't consider this a good game. Godzilla, the first one. Too.
And I have that on my list.
Yes. Again, it depends on who you talk to, but I didn't think it was such a good game because the levels constantly repeated. Fighting the level boss, well, just the monsters, not even a level boss. Fighting the monsters, it was pure button mashing. It was timed without a timer, and the boss fight could end at any moment, even before you're done defeating the monster, and then you have to fight them all over again.
Yeah, I don't know what happened with that game. I don't know if they didn't finish pieces of it, or if they just were like, oh, it's good enough because Godzilla's in it, we'll sell. But what I used to remember is like you could walk through a board even if you weren't punching or kicking, and he would automatically like eventually bowl over things as you were walking through the board. So it was just basically like, okay, so why? What's the point of this? I don't get it. But again, it's like you played it all the time.
And not only that, if you were Mothra, you just fly through the board pretty much.
Yeah, it was super easy.
Yeah, that was about it.
Fine. Nothing's bothering me. All right, cool.
I think the only monster that was the easiest to beat may have been the smog monster, because as soon as you trap him in the corner, you just keep hitting him with the fire breath. He was the easiest one. Ghidorah was horrible, and so was Gigan, but that's another story for another time.
Yeah, the foreign words I don't understand.
Yeah, but I know some people are going to think that game was good, so I'll
I think it's safe to chalk it up, though, to a guilty pleasure.
Oh, totally.
There's no question about that.
And
no question.
Also, did you ever play Mickey Mousecapade?
Yes.
Another.
They remade that though. They remade that on
did they?
Virtual on 360.
I know they did Castle of Illusion.
Oh, maybe that's one.
I think you're thinking of Castle of Illusion.
Okay, no, never mind. All right, so yes, Mickey Mousecapade is definitely on the list of guilty pleasures. I think I still own it.
Every once in a while,
cartridge somewhere.
When I go to a flea market, that's still a popular game being sold. I should next time I see it, I should go pick it up.
Disney. I'm sure Disney games, are considered a hot commodity. So
I guess that kind of, if I remember, no, that was a bit side scrollerish. That really didn't play like Platoon.
No, it was side scroller. It was almost kind of like Goonies, where you had a level and you had one screen and then you moved up ladders to another screen and across. But what used to drive me nuts about that game is that you're walking around and Minnie Mouse is with you, but you have no control over her. She's just with you. And there would be sometimes there would be like a hawk that would come down or a bird that would come down and grab her. And it's like, and if you lost her, you died. And I'm like, why?
Much.
I'm like, what? Did my heart break because she got taken? I'm like, what the hell is this? It used to drive me crazy.
Yeah, and then a lot of the Disney games, even back. Let's face facts. It was the mid '80s, maybe late '80s. Guys played, boys played boy game, girls played the 3 girl games that were out there. So I don't think when we were younger it was kind of cool to play a Disney game. But no, I don't care. Chip 'n Dale Rescue Ranger, which I think was a good game, but I'll consider that a guilty pleasure because it falls in the Disney category.
Yeah, no, I never played Chip 'n Dale. So
great game.
No, I never played that one.
Yeah,
but like I was saying before, I brought up DuckTales. I'm like, to me, DuckTales is not a guilty pleasure because everybody loved that game. That game was raved about. Chip 'n Dale, I don't remember. If my guilty pleasures, I think Disney wise, were more on the Super Nintendo. So like Aladdin and Lion King, which again, good games. They got good reviews, but considering my age at the time, I shouldn't have been playing those.
True, and considering my age. Totally at the time, I played more Disney games on the PlayStation, PS1.
As an adult.
And there were some good games, don't get me wrong. Some good games, not all of them. The first Toy Story wasn't as good as maybe 2 or Buzz Lightyear Star Command. That one was a good one. Mm-hmm. But I think it's kind of, I'm going to say Disney kind of all together when we were younger. Nintendo, Super Nintendo.
Even PC.
See, I never really got into PC gaming. That's the whole thing. Did you have some guilty pleasures on PC?
PC-wise, yeah, like, because PC and Disney, it's an interesting combo, because I remember getting my younger sister, and this was like mid-90s. We're talking, I think, like, 94, 95 when I got my first PC. Mm-hmm. Got my younger sister the Beauty and the Beast video game.
There you go.
And it was on the hard floppies. The hard disk floppies, so it was like 3 or 4 floppy disks.
Okay, yeah.
Not the large,
the 3.5, not the 5-inch, the 3.5 inch. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the 3.5. So, and I remember
Google it, kids.
Like, Google it, kids. So, and I remember it was on like 3 or 4 disks. So, depending on what game you played, you put that disc in and you would progress. And for some odd reason, I found myself playing that game way too much.
Really?
Yes, and they were stupid things. They were not stupid things, but you know what I mean. They were designed for like a 6 or 7 or 8-year-old. But I don't know. There was something about the brainless activity of it, and maybe it was just because I had a computer. I was so excited to have a computer that I just played whatever I had. But I wound up playing that game for. I played that game enough that I would definitely categorize it as a guilty pleasure for me at that time.
Way too long, way too often.
Yeah, I mean, other PC games for me were more like I didn't play that many, and I don't know if any of them were guilty pleasures. I guess like Seventh Guest to me is definitely, I'll talk about that all the time as one of my. That was a really solid game, but the sequel was awful, 11th Hour. Okay. So that definitely was a guilty pleasure of mine. Sanitarium was another one that I really enjoyed. That would probably categorize as a guilty pleasure. So there were a handful of PC games. I don't play PC games now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would call those guilty. Not to go on wrestling topics because we talk about wrestling all the time. Rampage Wrestling, which was a text-based pro wrestling game.
That was a good game. I don't know. It
was a good game, but that's a flat out guilty pleasure. It's like you don't even have a controller in your hand. You're reading text on the screen. I'm like, that's stuff of the 80s, But I couldn't stop playing that game.
Oh yeah, that was awesome. That game rocked. Here's a game that definitely I don't know why I played so often. It was a horrible game. Definitely a guilty pleasure. Mario is Missing.
I have that on my list too.
So,
I don't understand why I liked it. Maybe it was because Luigi was in charge for a change.
Maybe that problem. You know what? You're exactly right. Maybe because Luigi was the protagonist in the game, and he had to go around. Well, yeah, the name. There's really no burying the lead. Mario's missing, so you have to go and find him. Between that and Mario's Time Machine, I also had Mario's Time Machine.
I did not play that one.
Yeah, and to me, I guess now that I think about it, more Mario's Time Machine almost played like Carmen Sandiego.
Well, I was just gonna say,
actually, both of them kind of do.
I have on my Super Nintendo list or Genesis list Carmen Sandiego because that was definitely a guilty pleasure of mine.
What game that was on? I don't remember that on Super Nintendo or Genesis or both.
It was on one or both, and I had it. But I remember playing it because it was also around the same time that the game show was on PBS.
Game show ruled.
Yes, with acapella.
Yep, rockapella.
That was it, rockapella. But I remember watching that game show, being like, "Oh, I can rock that game show." And then the game. I remember the video game coming out because the box that it came in was really thick. Because I think it had like a big booklet in there to describe like all of the characters that you would find traveling around the world while you're trying to find Carmen Sandiego.
Maybe I do remember that.
Yeah, so I remember playing that game a lot because I was like, all right, I got to catch this girl. I got to catch her. I don't care. I was about to use the B word, but that would be mean.
What? Oh, man.
But, yeah, no, total guilty pleasure.
Now that I think about it, I think I do remember, like, a game being packed with a booklet. Maybe I had it. No,
that was Carmen Sandiego.
Robo-Crook.
Oh, my God.
And then, on Super Nintendo, now that you mentioned, like, kind of Super Nintendo and Genesis, I'm going to admit, mine may jump to PlayStation because I don't think I had two. Nope. I had guilty. Nope. Now that I remember, yes, there was a game Oh, God help me! I got to remember. You go on to your next because I got to find the name of this one game.
I'm gonna bounce back and forth a little bit
Yeah,
because
that's
there are
fine.
definitely a lot of like guilty play. Again, we talked a little bit about movie stuff. So Jaws for NES.
Yes.
I played that incessantly.
Oh,
I don't know why. That movie was deplorable.
The movie or the game?
No, the movie was awful.
Yeah.
The game was awful, and I could not stop playing that game.
You didn't like the movie?
Jaws 4?
Oh, I know. I'm sorry.
Jaws the NES game was directly based off of Jaws 4: The Revenge.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Wait, I'm learning something new. That game was based on Jaws 4?
I just know that?
No, I just thought it was just based on Jaws, but horribly done.
No, the whole game was like.
I never saw Jaws 4.
You never saw Jaws 4 with Michael Caine?
Oh, after getting through 3 with the sideways swimming shark, I was pretty much done.
I saw Jaws 4 in the theater. And then I bought the game, and I couldn't stop playing. The game ends with you stabbing Jaws with the boat.
Yes,
and then you fly off in whatever
right.
his a Hoagie's plane, because Michael Caine's name in the movie was Hoagie. that should tell you enough. But yeah, no, the whole end sequence, like the whole point of that game, is directly taken off Jaws 4.
Wow.
And I played that game nonstop, regardless of the fact that the movie was awful, regardless of the fact that that's probably one of the worst games ever made.
Oh, man. Wow, that blew my mind. All right, cool. But no, you're right. That was a rough game that just played over and over. Especially because when you first play Jaws, like in the first 2 minutes, you can be fighting Jaws. It's like game's almost over already.
And you have no power, and you can't. But there are so many like little cheats to that game, so you can get through it. But then like you drive around on your boat and randomly you've hit something, and then you go underwater, and what are you fighting? You're fighting friggin' jellyfish. You're fighting jellyfish and stingrays. It was just I don't know what they were thinking.
Oh yeah, no, those were rough ones. On Genesis, I mentioned it once before. Definitely guilty pleasure. There was from the. This is a good game, Earthworm Jim. That's not the game I'm going to mention.
No, that's a good game.
From Earthworm Jim, kind of led to this game called Boogerman, which I've mentioned before. It was on Super Nintendo. It was on Genesis. I played it on Genesis. Mm-hmm. That game I played over and over again, and the game plays like the title. He's a superhero. He flicks boogers. He's farting. Oh, it was horrible, but so fun.
Oh God, yeah, you would like a game like that.
Well, it was early '90s. It's kind of like Beavis and Butthead. And that's another one, Beavis and Butthead.
I was just to say, talk about a guilty pleasure. There you go, Beavis and Butthead. That was a PC game. There was a Beavis and Butthead PC game that I actually played all the way through. That was definitely a guilty pleasure.
I think I remember seeing you I think you've owned it, and
I did.
So, yeah. I think I've seen that once before.
Because I remember there were certain points in the game where you would actually take a break from music videos, and I'm like, I was like, I don't want to watch a music video. I want to play the game.
Do you remember a game called Faceball 2000?
Face.
It was
is that the one with the wait? Is
smiley
that one of
face?
Is that one of those lame Virtual Boy games? Like of the 3 that ever came out?
No, of the 19. No, it wasn't on Virtual Boy. It was on Genesis, but it was also on Super Nintendo. It was like a first person, but it was all like smiley face balls.
Okay,
and you just go around just firing on each other, almost like Doom, just all smiley faces.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah, kind of a stupid idea with all the faces, but it was catchy.
All right. Well, I'll leave that to you then.
Okay, so
Genesis.
What? Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was gonna jump over to another one on Genesis, which I loved playing, and it was a short game. It was called The Haunting. Do you remember The Haunting?
No, but it sounds familiar.
Starring Poltergeist.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
The Haunting was okay. Yeah. Okay. That's what it was. The Haunting starring Poltergeist, and what it was is about this ghost in this house who had been wrongfully murdered or something like that. So he decides that he's going to scare the residents of the house out. Mm-hmm. And what he does is he jumps into objects in the rooms to set up scary traps, like poltergeist things, so that when the family comes into the room, so like there were 4 family members, father, mother, daughter, son, they would come into the room and they would activate all these traps he set up, and the object was to scare them until they ran out of the house. And once you scared all 4 of them out of the house, you would go to this other level where you'd fight some weird thing which made no sense whatsoever. But then the object was to scare, I think there were like only 4 or 5 levels, but once you scared them out of the house the last time, like you fought one final boss and then you beat the game. So again, nothing fancy, it was weird, but like I just loved all the innovative little scares that you were able to come up with in that game, like the things you would activate. So I loved playing that one.
So I found the game that I was trying to think of. So this was on Super Nintendo. It was I remember renting it. I didn't own it, but I kept renting it, and I didn't realize the concept of the game until years later. It was a game called Captain Novolin. I don't know if you ever heard of this.
No.
So just to really do it justice, let me just read here from Wikipedia. So throughout the game uses 2D side-scrolling gameplay. Captain Novolin is the only one who can stop such evil aliens as Blubberman and rescue the diabetic mayor of Pineville, who was kidnapped by the evil aliens. The superhero was a diabetic, and what you had to do is you had to go through, watch what you're eating, keep your blood glucose in a safe zone. It was an educational game for kids with diabetes. I just kept renting it thinking it was a fun superhero game, not putting really 2 and 2 together. Horrible game, but very fun for some reason.
Wow. Captain Novolin?
Captain Novolin. Yes, there was bonus points correctly answering questions related to diabetes, but again, when I was playing it, I just figured, all right, just answering questions.
So like in this game were there like temptations like cupcakes and things, so if you ate them you would die?
Yeah. Captain Novolin needs to avoid the alien invaders who have appearance of junk food items, such as bouncing cookies and donuts, while eating healthy meals to keep his blood glucose within a safe zone.
So one company's desperate attempt to try and teach kids to eat healthy.
Sculptured Software. Thank you very much, people.
Thank you, Sculptured. that game goes down in history as probably one of the strangest.
And there was another one which I did own, which was another one of these like goofy educational games, but it was about dentistry. And it was about your teeth. And I remember it was a 3D game. You can actually play it in 3D. God help me if I can remember the name, but that was another one. I knew that one was about dentistry, but
were you like wait, but were you like putting fillings in people's mouths?
No, just like, it's kind of along the same. Just be careful what you eat, what you drink. There was a couple of like villains that were kind of like
let's toss those into the category of like Bible themed games. God, there's just nothing.
Never read any of those.
None of those make sense to me whatsoever.
Now to get back to a series that we're aware of, Krusty's Funhouse and Krusty's Super Funhouse. Do you remember these games?
Yes, I remember playing one of them.
Yeah.
Wasn't one of them like Lemmings?
I was gonna say they were both. They're both like Lemmings. Yeah, it played just like Lemmings. Nowadays, Mario versus Donkey Kong. And I played more. I think I had the Super Nintendo version. Both games were the same thing. But I had Super Nintendo version. You have to set up the traps to get to mice out of the funhouse. The levels can get so frustrating, and the gameplay was kind of ho-hum. But it led to some enjoyable times and enjoyable gameplay to begin with. So,
yeah, I remember playing that, and I liked it only because I liked Lemmings.
Yeah,
Lemmings was a really solid game, so it was just a blatant ripoff.
Oh, totally.
So yeah,
a lot of the Simpson games are. Oh, they were.
I was gonna say, because
yeah.
Wasn't there the it was popular. What was the Simpsons driving game that was basically
Hit and Run
USA?
Simpsons Hit and Run.
Hit and Run.
No, that was Crazy Taxi.
Or not Crazy Taxi.
Yes,
that was it.
And then you had Simpsons something, which was like GTA. Simpsons. I can't remember the name of it. Simpsons Wrestling, which was horrible. It wasn't until the Simpsons game that came out on like PS3 and Xbox that really then the Simpsons took off. But early on, like Bart versus Space Mutants. Yep.
And then there was what was the one? Bart's Nightmare.
Yeah,
I remember.
Yep.
I owned that one, and I remember playing through that one. That game was not good.
I had both the games. I enjoyed Nightmare more than Space Mutants, but Space Mutants got so kind of glitchy near the end of the game. But for some reason, I kept trying to push through.
Yeah, well, any game I bought, I would try and push through. I remember never beating Bart's Nightmare. I felt like no matter what you did, you were never gonna collect all of his homework papers, because that was the whole point.
Yeah, right.
With all those like different levels that you played through.
Yeah, and then I guess for me, the most recent real guilty pleasure before I started realizing what I was buying would have to be played it all throughout college, Pokemon Puzzle League. Even though it was Tetris 2, which is a fun game, it was Pokemon, and I got the entire floor playing Pokemon Puzzle League in like tournaments and stuff. It was great. Sometimes
I would mock you, but I still own it.
Sometimes people would ask to mute the TV. I'm like, no, we got to know what's happening. So, but that was probably the most recent guilty pleasure as far as retro.
Oh, retro-wise, yeah. Pokemon Puzzle League, I also have Pokemon Stadium and Stadium 2.
Ooh.
So, like, the Pokemon... Oh, and Pokemon Snap. So, like, my N64 collection is full of Pokemon for some ungodly reason. But, yeah, I mean, there was always something appealing about those games where it just, like, they just worked. I remember Pokemon Snap being, like, one of those games where it's like, what am I supposed to do? People are buying a game where you're taking pictures? Who the hell wants to play that? Hello, Pokemon Go.
The brainchild so early.
I haven't. What?
I was going to say, on PlayStation, I know you had, which is a good game, Pa Rappa the Rapper. Did you have the sequel?
I never bought the second one. I remember being bitter about Pa Rappa the Rapper because,
really?
A little bitter because you basically beat the game in less than half an hour.
Oh.
And then the game was over. So I categorized it into the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers category because I did the same thing on that Super Nintendo game where it was like 30 minutes later, my $50 was gone. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do with it? There was no replay value on games like that.
None
you would just, I mean, at least Per Rappa the Rapper, you had some music involved, but still, how many times am I going to want to play a level where you really have to go to the bathroom and sing your way to it?
Just like in real life.
Yes, exactly. It's like, oh, there's a long line for the bathroom. Let me sing and cut. Good game, but it's a good segue into another game that not only I played constantly, but my younger sister and her friends played constantly, Bust a Groove.
Ooh, Bust a Groove? Yep.
Yes, that one. So we used to love taking turns playing that game and then battling each other because it was a battle mode where you would play each other.
Mm-hmm.
The music was catchy. The dance moves were fun to watch, and then of course you were allowed to attack your opponent, which was really cool too. So like my younger sister and I, we played that nonstop. And then there was a Bust a Groove 2, but you couldn't find it anywhere in the US. It was like they made it, but they made it in a very small quantity. Mm-hmm. I ordered the Japanese version of that of Bust a Groove 2 and played that on my PlayStation, and I still have both of those games. I never got the American version of Bust a Groove 2, and it's a rarity and it's expensive to purchase now. But I remember like we had a great time playing those games, and definitely a guilty pleasure, no question.
I know this game you're not even going to count as a guilty pleasure because I know you hate this game all through and through. But Sonic Spinball, I played that. Oh yeah, it's on there.
I have that. It's on
my
list.
All righty, no problem.
I own Sonic Spinball, and for God knows why, I don't know why I owned it. I really don't, because I would play that game for like 10 minutes, and I'm like, why am I playing
Well,
this
we kind of, back then, we bought games without really knowing about it just by the title. You know, by then, every Sonic game was pretty good, so who knew Sonic Spinball would go off rail?
Well, I mean, I think we could have probably assumed because it was a pinball game. That would have been like clue number one. It's like you're not playing through a regular Sonic side-scroller. You're playing through a pinball game. So, yeah, there was nothing saving that guy.
No, not really.
Man.
Yeah, I mean, beyond that, it's really pretty much with the guilty pleasures that I had. I mean, those are pretty much it, because everything else, we're pretty. You got some more? What do you got?
I got a nice long list.
Oh boy, what do you got?
I'll just bounce around a little bit with game. There was the Robin Hood RPG game on NES based on the Kevin Costner movie.
Oh, I think I remember that. Yeah.
Yep. I played through that. I don't think I ever beat it. I remember making it to a certain point in the movie after their little hideout in Sherwood Forest gets burned down. That's somewhere where that's kind of as far as I got in the game. But Definitely not a good game. Not a good game, but for some odd reason, I think it's just because I like the movie, and I'm probably the only person in the world who liked that movie. But yeah, I remember playing that on NES. I remember another one for Genesis or Super Nintendo, Scooby-Doo. There was a Scooby-Doo game, and I believe I owned it for Super Nintendo, but they had it on Genesis too. Mm-hmm. But the reason why I wanted to buy this game was because it played out like 5 episodes of Scooby-Doo. Okay. So each level was, you went to like a creepy amusement park, you went to a creepy house, whatever it was, and then you were part of the Scooby-Doo team, and you would explore the house to try and find clues to figure out who the ghost was. And then the ghost would show up and scare you at points, but it would run just like an episode, so they would split you up. So, of course, Shaggy and Scooby would always go off on their own, sometimes with Velma, and then, Fred and Daphne would go off on their own and do their thing. Again, one of those games. 5 levels, done in 20 minutes.
It seems like a lot of the games based on cartoons or based on TV show cartoons were always like 5 levels long, or 5 episodes.
Well, because what they did was they would get them out into the market, or at least this is my assessment. They would get them out into the market, and they would just base it. They would base their sales on the cachet of the show, because it's like, oh, kids love Scooby-Doo, so they'll buy the game, and by the time they realize that we stole $50 from them because the game's only 20 minutes long, who cares? Because there were so many games that were made at the time where there weren't a lot of levels, but it was so difficult to get through the levels that it would take hours to beat, because you would have to learn how to beat each level.
Yeah.
These games not only were, they were not difficult, the levels were short, so they would end so quickly. I'm sorry, am I bitter? I'm not bitter.
No, I never got that at all.
No, I never threw away money for crappy video games.
You may come across it on your list very shortly, but we really haven't touched on N64 yet.
Oh, for me?
For either of us. I don't remember. Well, except for Pokemon Puzzle League. That was about the one, yeah.
For me, the Pokemon games were a guilty pleasure. Like, most of the N64 games I got were based on successful franchises.
Yeah, so, exactly.
I bought Mario, I bought Zelda, I bought Mortal Kombat Trilogy.
Oh yeah.
Maybe a guilty pleasure on N64 for me was Pilot Wings, because Pilot Wings to me was never really a great game, but because it came out the same day.
Yeah.
I bought that. Blast Corps, I remember being.
Oh God, yes, I had Blast Corps. That game sucked.
Yeah.
Oh, but I played it often. Yes. Wow, I forgot about that.
Yeah, because you got to blow stuff up.
Sure did.
Castlevania 64 was a guilty pleasure for me for a little while. I remember buying that, and I'm like, they didn't finish this game, did they? Because it was so clunky to play.
But then they came out like less than a year later. They came out with like kind of the pseudo sequel to Castlevania 64, which is kind of like the completed version of Castlevania 64.
Yeah, basically they took the same game and they like fixed it, so to speak, and it still wasn't that good. So
Legacy of Darkness, that's what that was called.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think by the time like N64, Dreamcast, like when those systems came out, I got a little more choosy with what I bought. Like I went with reliable games that already were pre-established, like the Marios and the Zeldas and things like that. Yeah. Less risk, more reward. So I was actually trying to think of a Dreamcast game that I had was a guilty pleasure, and the only one I can think of was, again, and you'll find this as an ongoing theme in my games, which were music games, Space Channel 5.
Oh, yes.
Which was, again, similar. It was like Bust a Groove, but with levels you would go through, and you would basically sing and dance fight the aliens,
as you do in real life.
Right, you would dance fight the aliens, and if you won the dance fight, they would actually get turned back into humans and then join you, and then they would be your backup dancers. So you would be building a posse of backup dancers as you're going through the levels. And it was just weird and different and innovative, and it was fun. And in fact, at one point in one of the levels of the first Space Channel 5, you recruit Michael Jackson.
Did you really? I don't remember that. That's probably why I didn't play it.
Michael Jackson was in the game, and I believe he voiced his own character. I mean, I don't think he had that many lines. I think he had like 1 or 2 lines, to my understanding. And maybe it wasn't him. I don't know. But yeah, he was in the game. They got the likeness to use him in the game because it made sense. It was a dancing game. So It was just weird and fun. In fact, I still own it.
He wasn't getting enough royalties off of Moonwalker
Well,
for Genesis.
Fine. Yeah, no, I guess not. I think at that point that game turned a little sour. With him saving children.
Yeah.
But
Legal
Space Channel
troubles.
5, there was Space Channel 5, and then they had a sequel to Space Channel 5, which I never played.
Did they really?
Yeah, it was a Space Channel 5 2.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Alrighty. I think that works like that. In any event. All right. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot more games that you have any others real quick? Any good ones on your list there that you haven't mentioned yet, or?
No, I got like weird random ones like Clue Land for NES,
Clue Land,
which was an interesting little puzzle game.
Yep.
That popped up on the NES remix for Wii U. Clue Land's
yeah. That's right. I forgot about. I haven't played that in a while,
my older sister and I used to play. Like we would rent that from the video store all the time and just play that together. Casino Kid, which was a blackjack and poker game.
Yep.
That's what got me into that. There was a weird game called Karnoff that I used to play. It was like the protagonist was like a fat Russian guy.
Oh yeah, I used to play that. All right, hold on. Now this is going to get a little local, folks. So forgive me. Rainbow Lanes.
Yeah,
used to have the arcade Karnov there.
All right, so Rainbow Lanes was a bowling alley that was in our neighborhood we used to grow up in. You got to explain this to people.
Yeah, Gil Hodges Rainbow Lanes, to be more specific. The only bowling alley I ever remember that was 2 floors.
Rainbow Lanes, yeah.
Yeah, because it was full. I haven't seen a 2-floor unless they're out there in L.A.
I mean, there are like maybe 2 or 3 that I've ever come across, and they're all 1 floor. But yeah, Rainbow Lanes was a 2-floor bowling alley. I remember when I was in grammar school. That's where our bowling league was.
Yeah, mine too. Yep, and Karnov, that was one of the that and Arkanoid actually was the other. I remember the other one.
I loved Arkanoid. I remember playing Arkanoid there all the time.
And the best thing about Karnov, not the best thing, but the funniest thing I remember about Karnov is I was playing the game. I was on a league. I was 7 or 8. No, maybe a little older, 9 or 10. I had a bowling glove, as you do, and I remember for some reason. I don't know how the world worked, but I had my glove on the arcade machine, the cabinet. The stick, whatever you want to call the platform, where the buttons and the sticks are, was loose. I pulled up on it, and my glove fell into the machine.
Nice.
And I was too scared to tell my mother, so I just left.
Well, first up, that's what you get for having a bowling glove at 7
Hey, listen, I wanted to bowl.
All right, everybody listening, lesson learned. All right, if you have kids or if you are a kid, please don't. Please do not.
As I get back into the sport. But yeah, Karnov definitely was a rough game, but a fun one that I definitely played often, both arcade and at home.
Yeah. And then just really quickly, other ones that I had on my list were like Marble Madness, which I played like crazy.
That was a good one, yeah.
Yeah, which was a silly game. What else did I put down here? American Gladiators for Super Nintendo or Genesis.
Rough one, but a good one.
Yeah, not a good game, but I used to love the game. I used to love the game shows so much.
That's what I meant when I say good one. Meant like good on the list.
And then, of course, the one I talk about all the time on PlayStation, Tecmo's Deception, which is definitely a guilty pleasure.
And you asked me to look for this when I went to the retro video game. Who's the Watsy? You got to show me a clip of this one day, maybe when we're done doing this show, because I don't remember. Did you own it when we hung out?
Yeah. No, I owned it. I have no idea what happened to it, but I owned it. And it was just, I don't know. There was something. I mean, granted, I know why it was appealing to me, because you were basically a minion of Satan trying to kill other people inside this mansion.
As you do.
So, yeah, exactly. It's just I don't know why it called to my teenage, well, can't imagine why. But but yeah, I mean that game I just absolutely loved.
All right, cool.
Yeah, just definitely one on my list.
All right, sweet. Well, that's it. Again, if you have your guilty pleasures, drop us a line on the Facebook page or at our Twitter accounts or anywhere. Let us know what your guilty pleasure was as we get ready to call it here another week for another show.
Yes.
And I know we were supposed to this past weekend do the live Shining Force 2 ending, but life's getting in the way. It's okay. Happens to the best of us. We'll figure something out.
My apologies to that. So I will I will post an update on our Facebook page. So if you're following us on our Facebook page, I'll let you know when that's been rescheduled.
Yep, and it may happen out of nowhere.
Life and work is just getting a little bit too busy at the moment.
All righty, and with that, thank you for joining us this week. Larry saying, see you later.
Goodbye.